the first thing I want to start to do is sort of talk about the path you've already kind of gone through. You know that we have gone through step 1, which is about your sizing analysis, choosing your pattern size. We've gone through step 2, which is pattern analysis, which is kind of gearing you up for understanding what kind of pattern adjustments you can make to the pattern before you sew. And of course, step 3 is about making those initial pattern adjustments. Now, following through with these 3 steps, the whole goal of that is really to help you solve the most obvious fitting issues before you cut your sample. So many of you are really struggling with this idea of like, what about my rounded back? What about that forward shoulder I always deal with? There's always lots of concern about those things in previous classes before we even get to the point where we need to start worrying about them. And this is likely because you've been told that it's an issue, that you should fix it right away. Sometimes you really can't solve everything right out of the gate. So it's often the very best process to do is simply wait until you can actually assess your sample. When you have your sample, you actually get more information about how much that adjustment needs to be, the location of that particular adjustment, and if it's needed. So there's a lot of other thoughts that can go into it once you have a sample that you're going to work with. And I just wanted to share here, you can see here the sample that's on the mannequin here. My husband always called this mannequin girlfriend number 2 because I actually padded her to look like me many years ago now. And so he used to call her girlfriend number 2. So girlfriend number 2 is actually wearing a size 8 sample, which fits my Maureen mannequin, the taller one, which is the size M sizing. That it fits her perfectly, but you can see here that on girlfriend number 2, she's got issues, even though their measurements are almost identical. But this particular body has a different shape. So automatically you're going to find that there is, different changes that you're going to have to make based on that. So this is why that first sample is so important. So even though we've kind of dynamically changed the pattern in many ways, we still have to go through this assessment of the fitting sample before we can actually really make things work really well. Okay. Now, I wanted to point out here that when you are working on step 1, sizing analysis, when you are choosing your size, the most important area that you need to start thinking about is the bust area. And that is why when we walk through the choosing your size worksheets, I'm always asking you what your cup size is. Your cup size is really the most important thing that you need to consider when you're choosing your size. Now, if your cup size is larger than the cup size that the pattern has been made for, you can always choose a smaller size. Now, if your cup size is smaller than the one that the pattern has been made for, then you have to choose a larger size. And that's simply because you have to take into account the cup size adjustment that you need to make to the pattern in order to make it fit your cup size. Okay? Now, if you are exactly the same cup size as the pattern, you can simply go by your bust girth measurement. That is the measurement that you choose your size based on. But we always have to take into account our cup size, okay? So I wanted to just kind of make that really clear now, because as you've gone through the system, I see people reverting back to how they used to choose their size before. They just chose their bust girth, or they're more concerned about their waist and hip girth. This is not a concern at this stage. You are trying to fit that bust and the bust prominent first. So that is the most important part about choosing your size, okay? So I'm hoping everybody is clear on that now, because it's a really important point that I want you to sort of understand. This works for no matter what pattern company that you're working for. So whatever pattern company you choose your size from, this is the method that you can use, okay? It's going to really help you in the long run. The other thing that I wanted to just quickly talk about is pattern analysis. So that's step 2, where you're filling out the pattern measurement worksheet. What this is trying to help you understand is how your body measurements are different than the pattern company's standard size. And it also helps you understand what ease amounts that the pattern company is using for their standard size, so that you can apply that ease amount to your body measurements to get a similar silhouette on your body measurements. So the whole idea of doing all this math, which many of you kind of struggle with and are resistant to, it provides you so much valuable information that you can use to help you alter the sewing pattern. It also prepares you for the amount of changes that you are going to need to make and where you need to be concerned about when you are actually fitting your sample. So these are really valuable pieces of information that you can use. Now, as you start to use this system of fitting, you're going to find that you can actually figure out more changes at the beginning, because you'll start to understand your body and you'll understand the pattern company that you're working with, what their intricacies are. So it becomes quicker and quicker because of that reason, okay? So I wanted to just bring that up. And yeah, and basically just saying that this worksheet really just prepares you for the pattern adjustments that you're going to need to make, okay? And then this initial pattern adjustment process, that step 3, all the lessons in there actually walk you through each of the adjustments that as you need to do them in the order that you need to do them. Now, the order of doing them is important because it simplifies the process and helps you kind of make sure that you are making changes to the pattern in a very proportional and proportionally distributed way. And you can control the lengths, the widths, the girths, the contours of the pattern by working in that way. So who can tell me what order you need to work? So I want to hear that in the chat. What order do you need to work when you make your pattern adjustments? First, second, third, fourth. I'll give you guys a second to do that, because I really want you to kind of drive that home, because it's really important when you're making your pattern adjustments that you work that way. This way, you don't end up having to go back and forth as many times as you would if you're trying to constantly do it. Okay, great. Length, contour, width, girth. Perfect. Many of you have that down. It's so perfect. Good. So length, contour, width, and girth. Always do that. And please understand that the step 3 lessons are actually given to you in that specific order in which you need to do the adjustments in, okay? Yeah, so Jennifer said, thanks for condensing that. I've been thinking about the parts, but not the whole concept. So yeah, when you kind of take a step back and realize that the steps that you are taking is actually getting you closer to a fit. So I have actually forced you all to really slow down the process so that you understand where you're coming from and then hopefully where you're going to try to get to. And most people sort of skip right to fitting the sample, right? So you just make up the pattern and you make up a sample and then you start fiddling with the sample, which does work in some cases, and you can do it that way. But I feel like if you slow that process down and really start to understand the pattern and how it's going to correlate with your body, then it's going to absolutely give you a better idea and a better ability to get a better fitting first sample. So as I said last week, I really feel like this process, it should actually eliminate one fitting sample for you. So if you're one of those people who makes a million fitting samples trying to figure everything out, it's going to at least eliminate one of them, okay?